This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So it's getting colder out. It's getting colder out. If you're out there working a road detail, good luck. Good luck. It's kind of cold out there today. So I'm Chris McCarthy. You are the audience. Big news overnight, right? We have a number of additional appointments to the Trump administration. The President-elect President Trump, right? President-elect Trump administration. Pete Hegseth. I think that's a wild choice, really. He's a Fox News personality, but he's also a Princeton, Harvard graduate, went to both Ivy League schools, and he's an infantry officer. After college, he enlisted in the infantry. He's been in combat. I think that's a major appointment, but he's never overseen a government bureaucracy. Is that good or bad? I would say it's good, but it's risky, right? It is risky. In other words, Pete Hegseth has literally been in combat, and he's got great reviews from people that work with him at Fox News, and he was an Army officer. But having a big bureaucracy like the Department of Defense, that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. So I would say that it's outside the box. Certainly, I think it's good to have a former infantry soldier, someone who has to live or die with the results of the Department of Defense, serving as the Secretary of Defense. That is a, you could probably stop moving around, right? Thank you. The Secretary of Defense makes decisions about life and death for our volunteer military. So, same thing with the National Security Advisor. Again, another Army officer, Congressman Walz, has what is called the Combat Infantryman's Badge, the most coveted badge in the Army. The Combat Infantryman's Badge. You only get that badge if you've been an infantryman in combat. So, if you are a soldier and you see that on another soldier's uniform, they automatically get respect, right? Combat Infantryman's Badge is the one of the most coveted badges in the military. So it means you've been in combat as an infantryman. So both our National Security Advisor, incoming National Security Advisor, and our incoming Secretary of Defense both have the Combat Infantryman's Badge. And that means they were in combat. I mean, that is an incredible honor and an incredible responsibility. So I think that is better for our all-volunteer military to know that the people making the decisions have been on the other ends of those decisions in the past, right? So I think that's a good development for the country. I think it's a good development for the country. 508-996-05. It's risky, though. It is certainly risky to take a TV personality. I mean, he's also an author. He's a dad. I said an Ivy League graduate. And make him in charge of the Defense Department. So that is, that's risky. It's definitely risky. So 508-996-05. In the 10 o'clock hour, we will be joined by a number of people from Fairhaven. Kathy Melanson, who's on the planning board, chairman of the planning board, I believe now. The Charlie Murphy, the selectman, but acting town administrator. He'll be here as well. Rick Trapillo, he's the one who kind of put it all together. Rick Trapillo from the planning board will be here as well. And, of course, I will be here. And I believe they're going to try to bring somebody else as well. Hopefully they brought donuts for everybody. Who knows? Who knows, right? And then at 11 o'clock, we'll have the mayor of New Bedford, John Mitchell. Right? Mayor of New Bedford, John Mitchell, will be here in studio. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Springsteen, who I believe, so during the now look, Bruce is a well-known liberal. There's nothing wrong with that. You go back to the 1970s, he was playing the No Nukes concerts and all that stuff, right? I Won't Play Sun City, which was his protest against performing in South Africa, because Sun City was a resort down in Africa and South Africa. They had apartheid. And guys like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra would go down and play in Sun City. A lot of people did. And Bruce Springsteen joined the apartheid demonstrations and said, I'm not going to play Sun City. He actually wrote a song, I'm not going to play Sun City. So he's always been a lefty. And that's fine, right? I like his music. I even enjoy his politics to the sense that he's at least engaged, right? But I didn't realize he was paid for these opinions, or rather these endorsements. We're now learning that the Kamala Harris campaign paid millions of dollars to these entertainers who did get out the vote stuff for them, performances, or just physically showed up somewhere without performing. So Oprah Winfrey's company, Harpo Productions, they were paid $1 million. And Oprah is splitting hairs by saying, well, I wasn't paid, but the people at my company were paid, something like that. But I had no idea. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't think I am. And I bet many of you never realized, and maybe it's the first time it's happened. I never thought that celebrities were paid for their political endorsements. I never thought that was a thing. Again, maybe I'm really naive. I just assumed that they actually cared and they recognized that they were valuable and that they had a constituency of their own, and they were going to use their celebrity to help advance their political agenda. I never really thought that, for instance, Megan Thee Stallion, okay? Now, Megan Thee Stallion is a I think it's a rap type of, I've seen her on Saturday Night Live. Good-looking girl. But she's, well, I can't play her music here, I don't believe. Or I can once, right? And then I'll be gone. Her lyrics are a little bit risque, but, you know, she's an entertainer. I'll leave it at that. I mean, I find her entertaining, but I don't know that I would take her endorsement as anything but a negative, really. But I'm not her constituency, right? But a lot of people do like her, and a lot of people who like her vote. So apparently she was paid millions of dollars to do a get out the vote campaign or performance, a gyrating performance down in Austin, Texas. Millions of dollars. $5 million is what they're telling us. Going forward, first of all, did you realize when you were writing a check to the Harris campaign or using a debit card that money was going through the Harris campaign into the coffers of wealthy entertainers who were being paid to basically trick the public, right? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, 508-996-0500. We have the Harris campaign, for which many of you voted, is now showing us their deficits. Literally $20 million in deficit. They ran a deficit of $20 million. And guess who's not going to get paid? The little people. the staffers, the people on the ground, the people with the people in the political infantry, basically, right? The boots on the ground of the political campaign. They are not going to get paid. They're going to get stiffed. It's all likely they're going to get stiffed. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Folks, there are a lot of good Americans out there in our region who have a little bit of trouble with hunger this time of year. That's why, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we here at WBSM want to help local families celebrate together with our Hunger Heroes food drop. So for 32 years in a row, we'll be celebrating and collecting food to benefit the United Way of Greater New Bedford's Hunger Heroes Project. Join us at Aldi's in Dartmouth on Saturday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to noon to donate the necessary Thanksgiving items. You can find all the details at WBSM.com. Hunger Heroes Food Drop is made possible by our friends at Is Schwartz Appliance, First Citizens Federal Credit Union, Carefree Homes here in Fairhaven, and Aaron Pools and Spas. Again, join us at Aldi in Dartmouth on Saturday, November 16th. All those great sides that you like for Thanksgiving. Don't worry about the turkey. We'll take care of that, right? But all that extra stuff that you need to make Thanksgiving, pick it up at Aldi's, drop it off to benefit the United Way. They do great work over the United Way, right? 508-996-0500 so you can get on the program. So we have a governor who is now saying she will live without federal aid to protect the illegal migrants. So her temper tantrum, which is all it can be described as, against the election by the American people of Donald Trump and his policies, which, by the way, we all knew what Donald Trump's policies were going to be. Everybody knew. There was no question. You voted for it. You endorsed it. America endorsed it. Mass deportation. Get out. You have to leave. You can't stay. Particularly if you're a criminal. Now, if you are a law-abiding illegal alien, which is impossible to be because you're an illegal alien, I'd keep my head low. I should say this in Spanish, probably. I would keep my head low. Don't go around selling fentanyl and robbing liquor stores and driving without a driver's license. Of course, if you live in Massachusetts, you can get a driver's license, even if you are an illegal alien, thanks to the supermajority Democrats. But Governor Healy is willing to forego federal support for our infrastructure and other things in an effort to lead the temper tantrum against the American people's judgment in electing Donald Trump. This is our governor. Many of you voted for her. I voted for her because on paper, she looked like the better choice to me over the Republican nominee. Now, look, I live with the same misery as the rest of you for doing that. I thought she was a better candidate, and I gave her a shot. I think this is absolutely outrageous. What do you think? 508-996-0500. Can you imagine Massachusetts without federal aid? Do you understand how much federal aid this state takes in? Roads, the bridges, the Cape Cod bridges. That money has been secured through the work of Congressman Keating, the two senators. But Donald Trump is now going to have to dispatch that money. All for what? Fentanyl dealers and prostitutes, drunk drivers. Those are the ones that Donald Trump is going to target, right? They're not going to go through the population asking for your papers. If you rise to the top or sink to the bottom, however you want to look at it, because you're a criminal, then you're going to be on the radar. And then Secretary Holman's going to come get you. And I wonder whether some of our local officials are going to go with the federal government or go with their state government. Is this the new rebellion? Right? Are they going to get... Is this the states' right rebellion? Right? We want to keep our illegal aliens because, they work cheaper than Americans. They'll work in conditions that Americans won't do. It's almost like, when did we have an occasion like that before? Think about that. When did a group of states say they want to keep their low-paid, poor conditions workers working, right? Keep a hold of those workers, the low-paid, poorly treated workers, right? The workers in dangerous conditions, working long hours for very, very low pay, even wages enough to barely exist, right? When did we have that before? Think about that for a second, folks. When did Democrats last do this? When did Democrats last say, hey, we've got some low-cost wages, we're paying these workers, and we want to keep them. We like the conditions they work in, and we're going to keep it that way. And we don't care what you say, Abraham Lincoln. We don't care what you say, Donald Trump. We're going to keep our workers, and we're going to keep paying them what we're paying them. And we know that if we lost them, we'd have to pay Americans a lot more to do that work. But we don't want to do that. So we're going to keep our pliant workforce in place, right? When was the last time we had conditions like that? When a governor said, no, we're not going to help you thin out our workforce down here, right? We're going to keep our workers. They called them something different than that, but we're going to keep our workers. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
This is Dayton calling. How you doing?
Not bad,
Good.
Dayton. What's it like over there?
A little cold. Yeah. Hey, I want to tell you something about Springsteen. I like his music, but I don't like his policy views.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, me too.
Also, Bon Jovi's from New Jersey, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yes, and you know what he did? You probably know this because you're a man with some wisdom. Years ago, he bought he bought some land, and he put about 7 or 8 goats and sheep on it, and he calls himself a farmer, and he has some scrubs attending it, feeding them and taking care of them, so he can get a big tax break from the government. You aware of that?
I know. I've heard that. It's not a bad move.
Thank you. You know a lot of stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think if you look, in fact, I bet you over in Dayton you have that situation where you have a lot of people that have extensive amount of land, but they lock it under the farm, the agricultural discount for their taxes. So what happens is, though, when you take it out of that, you have to pay all the difference. So that's what holds up a lot of development places where their ancestors put it in as agricultural land, and then when they want to take it out and sell it to develop housing or something else, they have to pay all the unpaid taxes. So it's only a temporary tax dodge, at least here in Massachusetts.
You know where I heard that from a great man? Remember Derry Brownfield?
I do remember Derry Brownfield. I wonder when.
You know something? You're a very knowledgeable man. I listened to Derry Brownfield in the '90s for crying out loud.
That's what I listened to him. I think that's when he was on. I listened to him through the internet. Genesis Radio, right? I think it was.
And then, I had shortwave.
Okay.
And then he passed away. It's a shame. I miss him. He was great. And he had a little comical view to it,
No, he always had a funny little twist to what he was saying. And he had a neat accent. Yeah. A neat accent. right? Derry, I haven't thought of him in years.
Everything I've mentioned to you for that I've ever talked to, you already know. That's a great thing.
I appreciate that.
That tells people that I'm not a BSer.
Says something about both of us, I guess, my friend. What do you? Go ahead.
I had another great thing to tell you. If you could I have another couple of minutes?
Go ahead.
I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of the Jewish people being persecuted. Do you know if it wasn't for the Jewish people, we might not have been here today? Because during the Revolutionary War, have you ever heard of Chaim Solomon?
Maybe not the same one, but sure, that's a name I know.
Chaim Solomon from Pennsylvania. He died broken. He died in a cemetery, unmarked grave. They put him in. He was a millionaire that made George Washington's army do the job because remember they went from 30,000 down to about 2,500?
Yes.
If you know history.
I do.
He gave them food and clothing and medicine and ammunition to get them going and keep that war going. And he was a great hero, Chaim Solomon.
Hiram Solomon. No, listen, I agree with you, and I think it's good signs, all the appointments that President Trump-elect has made so far with regards to the treatment of Israel.
Did you hear a rumor that he picked DeVos again? That Voss for the education?
I hadn't heard that
yet.
was
fake news. DeVos, remember that lady he had before DeVos? Did he really pick her, or was that fake news?
I don't know. I do not know. I don't know
right,
when we did. I saw that she was on one of the channels yesterday giving commentary, but I was not really paying attention. I saw she was up there, though. She's a very successful woman. Her husband's very successful. Her brother is the head of Blackwater Security.
Blackwater. That's a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, there's a big difference here.
And here's another thing I want to mention. You know how some people around in Bristol County are talking about MCAS tests?
Yes.
You know, there's so many millions of people in this country that can't read or write and they're graduating from high school. You know that, didn't you?
I did.
God bless you, brother.
Thank you, my friend, as always. Thanks, Dighton. There is... look, I think when it comes to education, everybody is an individual, and education is an individual enterprise. And some people really want to learn. Some people don't. And I will tell you that some of the most successful guys I know, were not the best students in the world at all. Really, they weren't. Some of them had discipline problems, and they've never been as none of their peers are as successful as they are. So education is a tricky thing. It really is. Personally, I didn't like sitting in a classroom, and I'd rather learn on my own and read books, and particularly now with the internet, you can learn so much if you just go out and read actual documents and living. Nothing teaches as well as experience, right? Which is why I'm pointing out that Pete Hesketh, who most of us know as a Fox News personality, also has a combat infantryman's badge. He served as an officer in combat, and now he's the nominee for the Secretary of Defense. So Dick Cheney was the Secretary of Defense. Dick Cheney also dodged the draft, all right? Now, people make their own personal decisions, but Pete Hesketh has lived by the decisions of previous secretaries of defense, and he's been right in the field. So he understands what the infantryman needs, which is what we need to win wars. And the same thing with our new National Security Advisor, Congressman Walz. Congressman Walz was a Green Beret. Again, combat infantryman's badge. He served right there. So he knows how to set up a Claymore mine. He understands how to run a patrol, how to run an ambush. He understands how the equipment works, that he's responsible for furnishing the troops. So I just think that having those guys there is really an important development for a better military and a better life for our soldiers, right? Those guys have been on the receiving ends of very short paychecks, right? Second lieutenants, and maybe Pete was a captain, I'm not sure. But those guys don't make a lot of money. They're not in it for the money. But when you hear stories about soldiers and their family being on food stamps, I want a Secretary of Defense that's going to go to bat for the men and women who are on the front lines. I want a national security advisor who's going to go to bat with the president, who has the president's ear, who says, look, this doesn't work. We got to pay these men more, pay these women more, provide child care, whatever it is that they need. Because these people are going to know what it is because they've been there, right? Nothing better than experience. Experience. 508-996-0500 so you can get on the program. The New England Patriots, they got their third win of the season. Nothing better than experience, right? The Patriots have got some experience now at winning. They beat the Chicago Bears last Sunday. This week they host the LA Rams. Another week, another 5-0 team, right? The LA Rams are struggling, but they got a good chance for the Pats to win or for the LA Rams to win. So it's going to be a good game. Pats against the Rams. Kickoff is 1 p.m. here on WBSM. Pre-game starts at 10 a.m. here on WBSM. The New England Patriots, all season long, right here at WBSM. We'll be right back. Program, I'm Chris McCarthy, and I know you've got that crack in your windshield, your wife's windshield, your kid has a crack in the windshield. First of all, it's not safe. It's not safe at all, and it's very easily repaired, right? Reach out to Citywide Glass. They'll fix that right for you. And here's, best of all, they have a mobile unit. Citywide Glass will come right to your home, to your work, wherever you'd like them to come, and repair your windshield on site. The responsive crews they have all over the South Coast means no matter where you are, right, they'll come to your work, to your house, and fix it. The crack is gone. All insurance is accepted. So not only that, they can also fix your mirrors, your door windows, your truck sliders, sunroof, and more. There's no reason to have a crack in your glass, not when you can make a phone call to Citywide Glass, either in Dartmouth or Fall River, and they'll come right out to your home or to your work and fix it, okay? Winter is no time to have a crack in your windshield. It's very dangerous, quite frankly. It really is. So get your glass repaired. All insurance is accepted at Citywide Glass. Very easy. Give them a call or visit citywideglass.net. Citywideglass.net. That's your windshield breaking. Can you imagine? Your windshield breaks just because you neglected to make a phone call. All you do is make a phone or go on the website. Listen, you're already looking at stuff on the internet now anyway. Go to citywideglass.net. Make an appointment. Fix that windshield. Or better yet, get your wife's windshield fixed, right? You know it's not your windshield as a crack. Your wife's windshield. Get it fixed for her. Be a sweetheart. Or honey, you fix your husband's windshield, right? Citywideglass.net. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, they'll come and do it for you. So it's great. It's great situation. So we'll be joined by the mayor of New Bedford at 11 o'clock. We're going to get his reaction to the election. Now, here's the thing. I think we all know the mayor supported Governor Harris. In fact, he endorsed her. Right? But I think the mayor is a very practical guy. He knows you don't go to war with the federal government. He has a lot of needs here in New Bedford. We have to work closely with the federal government. But he also is a former college classmate of Governor Healy, and I would say he's a political ally of Governor Healy. I would say that. If he's political allies with anybody, right? And we're going to get the mayor's reaction because I wonder, he's kind of caught in a tough position here, right? Does he go with the governor, who he needs? And I would say he's genuinely pretty aligned with politically, right? Or does he go with the president, who he certainly needs, even though he didn't support him, but he is the duly elected federal magistrate, right, of America, Donald Trump. If you don't accept the election, right, it's kind of a weird situation, I would say. The fact that the governor is openly in defiance of Donald Trump, I think that's very strange. And saying she will forego federal aid. Now, I believe that under the system of health care put in place by Governor Romney and the late Senator Ted Kennedy, there is a large component of federal dollars that comes into Massachusetts for our health care system. So, does that mean that Governor Healy is going to basically forego federal dollars to citizens here in Massachusetts because she wants to preserve the illegal alien workforce that we have here in Massachusetts? Remember, we've seen this before, folks. We've absolutely seen this before, where certain states said, we have a certain class of workers that we really cherish. Doesn't look that way from the way we treat them, but we really cherish these people, and we want to keep them. We don't want to give them up. So we're going to fight the federal government to preserve our way of life, our residents, right? Our residents, our working class, I guess, right? They came here through no fault of their own, really. If you know history, right? They really weren't trying to come to America, but through circumstances beyond their control, they ended up in the United States of America, primarily in the southern states, right? Primarily in the southern states. There were some in the north, but primarily in the southern states. And they were really vital to the economy. And people said, look, if we let these people go, these workers go, even though you don't like the way they got here, federal government, we'll lose our way of life. So you hear that now. People go, well, if you start deporting the illegal aliens, you'll pay $8 for an avocado, or you'll pay $9 for an orange. Or who's going to clean your house, right? Well, we say it's wrong. That system that has been going on now for many decades is wrong. And President Trump is going to fix it. He's going to kick out those workers and make it better working conditions for everybody else. Folks, you understand that the reason the ruling class has imported all these other workers in the United States is to suppress wages, to get 3 and 4 human beings competing for the same job, which naturally depresses wages. Right? Do you remember the Bianco raid here in New Bedford? Now, the Bianco raid was a raid on a textile factory that had a government contract. The government contract was very lucrative, but they were paying below minimum wage to illegal aliens and not employing Americans. The contract by the federal government was for a livable wage for green card and American citizens, workers in New Bedford. But you had some very sharp operators come in, one a Sicilian immigrant actually, and they organized a company and they started hiring illegal aliens and taking the difference. What the contract gave for wages, they were siphoning that off for themselves and paying substandard wages to illegal aliens. And everybody, the unions, everybody, was looking the other way. Except the Republican administration did a raid. Guess what? After that, they started hiring and paying real wages. That contract was taken away from Bianco and given to another company, and they started hiring Americans. I mean, that is the real story of illegal aliens. Real story of illegal workers. But you have a number of nonprofits in the greater New Bedford area now. Immigrant Assistance Center, the Community Economic Development Center run by Corinne Williams, soon to be located in the Capitol Theater. They are citing the Bianco raid, which was a triumph of American policy, as a black mark, as a dark phase in our history. I got to tell you something, folks. That was a great thing that happened here in New Bedford when they broke up a criminal conspiracy using illegal aliens. That was a great, great development. And by the way, I will bring on the federal agent, a New Bedford resident, Eric Caron, grew up in New Bedford. Father's a New Bedford police, passed away now, but was a New Bedford police officer. This guy grew up in the South End, Eric Caron. He wrote the book Switched On. He has a website. I think it's switchedon.com. Check it out. He led the raid on the Bianco factory in New Bedford. So the real history is available, and I'm going to bring it to you. Absolutely, you're going to learn the real, if you don't already know it, the real history of what happened down there at the Bianco factory here in New Bedford. It's a very important story. But city resources, state resources, and federal resources are going to be used by these nonprofits to wage war against the decision of the American people, to wage war against democracy. They told the New Bedford Light. I brought it to you. I love the New Bedford Light. I think everybody should read it. If you don't want to read it, you can listen to it. That's how I bring it to you. NewBedfordLight.org. They do tremendous work, even when they don't realize it. They do tremendous work. We'll take a break. I'm Chris McCarthy. We'll be right back. I'm Chris McCarthy. We're taking your calls, discussing the fact that a lot of people in Massachusetts don't like the reaction to the election. I happen to be very pleased with it, and I'm willing to go along with whatever the American people do. That's how the republic works, right? But there are people, including our governor and some local activists, who are very upset about the deportation, and they think somehow it's going to be really bad, and they want to wage war, and they really have access to a lot of city and state and even federal resources. And I find that to be repugnant, really. But anyway, back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
What's happening, Nick?
Not much. A little bit more sleep than I had yesterday.
Okay.
There was this whole thing about the government wanting to steal our money to support their pet causes, and it all boils down to these nonprofit groups. You know, government is pretty much nonprofit as well. It's supposed to be, anyways. These people, they can't start businesses of their own. So they figure, hey, I know how I can make a business with me at the head of it.
Right.
All I have to do is prey on people's good nature. So they go and they sell themselves. I hear them come on your station at night doing their advertisement for Feed the Hungry Children. There's no freaking hungry children around here. Criminy almighty. I can go to anywhere. I can go to New Bedford on any day of the week and get a whole friggin' box of food, free food, no problem. They have free lunches all day long every year in school. So there's no hunger in America. But they make a big business for themselves out of collecting money from people who through their good nature are going to donate to them. And then they just do whatever they want with it. Now, for the illegal aliens, it's the same thing. They prey on people's good nature to get money to start up nonprofit organizations, and they don't give a hang about the illegal aliens or the people giving them money. What they give a hang about is having a nice fat paycheck and growing their organization. They don't care whose detriment it's to.
Look, I will tell you that when you pull up all these nonprofits, when you look at their I-90, which is the IRS form they have to file, most of them leave the salaries part blank. It's amazing. I've got years
How can they do that?
They just do it. I don't know. There's no enforcement. Maybe that'll change with the Trump administration. But
I think the Trump administration needs to put somebody on regulating these nonprofits closely. That's a racket.
There are millions of dollars that have gone to the Community Economic Development Committee, which is Corinne Williams' group, which is Capitol Theater. They have about a decade worth of I-90s that have the salaries and the contractor section blank on their I-90. It's publicly available.
That's rich.
But yet the city council votes.
Bianco raid.
Yeah, and the city council votes to give them money.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
They're saying the Bianco rate is what they are.
Right.
The Bianco rate starts from the people's paychecks, but they're doing twice as bad.
Your phone's breaking on me, Nick. Look, I have about a decade, and you could do it too. You go to IRS 990, okay? Just put it into your Google machine, okay? Look up the Community Economic Development Center of Southeastern Massachusetts, the I-90 form. You can find about a decade worth of them. And there's no list of who the highest paid employees are, no list of who the contractors are. This goes back about 10 years. Yet, the New Bedford City Council has been giving that nonprofit millions of dollars, okay? Now, when you add up the amount of money the state delegation has gotten for them, when you add the federal tax incentives, when you add ARPA money, it goes into the millions. They're looking for about $14 million for the Capitol Theater project, okay? Yet, they do not fully complete the I-90 form. So I don't know how Corinne Williams couldn't even have any credibility with the Mitchell administration or the city council, right? When they don't fully complete the I-90 form. So it's really outrageous. It really is. But this is New Bedford. And you have what I think is a wonderful program with a little additional income tax. Property tax paid, right? We do it in Fairhaven. You get a little bit more from the state back, and then the community groups can whack it up, right? That's what happens. So you can use it to build BMX tracks and do whale book logs, all kinds of fun stuff. There's really a lot of very interesting stuff that's done with that money. But you have one particular group that wants really all of it, and that is to basically build a fortress for illegal aliens. Apartments, legal offices. I think they have a bank there, a kitchen. What do you need with a kitchen? Enough food to feed an army, basically. A community kitchen, that's an industrial kitchen, right? An industrial kitchen, like the kind we had in the Army, I guess, right? And offices and barracks, quarters, right? Where you could put people to sleep at night, right? Apartments, they call them. It's really incredible. And this is what's being done by the illegal alien lobbyists with the Capitol Theater project on Acushnet Avenue, which you, the taxpayers of New Bedford and Massachusetts, are paying for. Now, you only have 2 city councilors so far that have stood up against it. One is Ian Abreu. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He didn't. He went along with it. One is Sean Oliver. The other is Leo Choquette. Those 2 city councils are the only 2 that voted no on the Capitol Theater project. All the rest of them have been led by Maria Giesta to give out millions of dollars